This is Sun Tzu for On Gamers, and I'm here with Liquid Amaz. Now, you were the first pickup for Team Liquid in Hearthstone.
Yep.
And Team Liquid entering Hearthstone, you're the first. It's the first of these sort of esports royalty, the really big names in esport teams. What does that mean for you to be part of this organization and impart that such a big name in esports is taking a interest in Hearthstone, legitimizing it really?
Right. So definitely, it's pretty exciting. Where a lot of big teams are picking up Hearthstone players and making the scene vibrant. Personally, I'm really excited to join Liquid because I heard really good things from StarCraft. Even though I don't follow it too much, they're a bunch of very gentleman players. They're also very skilled, of course. So I'm pretty excited to see where my partnership with Liquid will go.
Yeah. Now, in your the announcement post, there was a video, a Draw Your Life. You talked about your mother and her passing. That seems like a very personal subject. Was that difficult to put it out there for people?
It was definitely difficult at the time it happened. Like, in the 2 years it happened, I was just really depressed. But I think it's important to share the story so that people. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are in the facing the same challenges or even different, right? Like school or money problems or whatnot. Like anything. It just hopefully people can see that if you just carry on and persevere through the challenges, life is good. Life is good to live.
Now, you're known as the priest player. I know you played World of Warcraft. I haven't actually heard what was your main class, and did it happen to be priest? Was that sort of the reasoning behind why you ended up becoming a priest player in Hearthstone as well?
Okay, so yeah, in WoW I played a hunter mainly because I was guild leading and also managing a raid team and everything. So yeah, it's just hunter is very smooth. You can look at the scene. So it didn't really carry on from there. Just why I picked up priest was because there's a lot of combo cards and I really like those in TCGs. And of course, my favorite card is Thought Steal, and you can make so many different combos of it. So yeah. No relation there.
Yeah, I talked with Admirable 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah.
And he also said that with the sort of focus on getting these combos, getting these pieces together and using them together, for him, Hearthstone is starting to remind him more of chess than traditional card games. Is this sort of part of the appeal of the game for you and part of the appeal of the priest class?
Yeah, I definitely agree that Hearthstone is a game similar more to chess than anything else. I just love the combos, and in chess you can plan moves ahead. In Hearthstone you can always plan, in general, not just priest, you can plan moves ahead and try and outthink your opponent by 1 step or even 2 steps. With priest, it's just more exciting because if you're holding one half of the combo, you really want to get the second half, and then you don't even know when to use it because you only have one combo. It's like your super move or not. So that's really enticing, and it's interesting, yeah. When you compare it to chess, and people like to watch chess. No, I mean, how do I phrase this? Chess is not a super popular game where everybody watches, right? But if you combine fantasy elements and cool animations and whatnot, and of course the Warcraft genre, right? Yeah. People are just very interested. So I'm really glad that Blizzard made such a fun game.
Yeah, indeed. And now, talking about this, the mind games, that sort of aspect, we talked a bit about it with the chance that you had yesterday to resubmit your decks. You told me you only changed one card. And so we talked a bit about the idea that people sort of, even if you don't change the deck, people have certain expectations that, oh yes, of course he's going to change something. How do you think these sort of mind games play? And I think, is it true that you're actually resubmitting decks for the playoffs as well now?
Yeah, so for the first BYOC, I only changed one card because I was I'm just familiar with the decks and practicing really helps. I just don't want to go overcommit on something I don't know. People get really flustered in tournaments because they overthink too much, especially. So Yeah, changing one card is fine. And for the top 8 now, we can actually resubmit decks again because apparently, they thought that Group A and Group B saw the Group C, the Group A and Group B played first, and then Group C and Group D played after with changing the deck. So some people thought that, oh, they might counter the Group A and Group B deck lists, so that that was implemented. So yeah, I just re-changed my deck list again. So yeah, hopefully that will go well.
Yeah, and that seemed like a really interesting thing for me because I know Gara, he sadly didn't end up getting through the groups, but the fact that he ran this druid which didn't have the combo and which you exploited against him once you figured that out, the fact that you could stay on such low health. Now, imagine if he would have made it through, he just put the combo in, resubmit otherwise the same deck. People queue up against it, they see the deck, they recognize it's the same archetype, and they're like, oh, I can go down to 10 health and stabilize again. Like, sort of that type of mind game, that's just fascinating. Was this something that you sort of considered sort of like playing on expectations and what people had already seen of you?
Okay, so it's definitely a pretty interesting set of mind games that this is implemented. However, I don't really like the short notification. It was more of a reaction thing, more of like a rule set thing, which I'm not really a big fan of. I mean, if you told the players beforehand that you could like resubmit deck lists every in these thresholds, then it could create a lot of mind games, and like your combos, put in your combos and whatnot. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, this seems like more of a reaction thing to me.
Now, do you like it though? Like we've usually seen these tournaments where you start with a given set of decks and you go through the whole system with those same decks. Do you like the idea that perhaps that, for example, if you have a group play you play one deck, and then playoffs you resubmit deck? Would you like to see that more?
I think it's important if you have this kind of format where there's an open qualifier and there's invited players, that the open qualifiers who make it to the group stages do get a chance to resubmit decks, because in the open field, you tend to, your decks tend to curve a bit more consistently. Whereas in the group stage, you can be a bit more greedy, because there are such cards such as, a lot of legendaries, right? Like Harrison Jones, for example. That's a big example. Like if you play that, if you can eat a weapon, then you just win the game, right? So you can do a bit more greedy in the group stages, but in the open qualifiers, you can face all sorts of decks. There's a lot of mages, which are popular, even some paladins, like who knows, right? So you have to be like, you choose consistent decks. So in the future, if any tournaments are going to do these kind of things, I think they should announce beforehand and stick to what they say, rather than just putting something out there and surprising players or whatnot.
Yeah. You also mentioned Paladin and of course the priest that you play. Having these kinds of decks as sort of your signatures, how do you think it plays into? Is it a strength that sort of people have to anticipate these really odd decks, or like in the meta odd decks, when they sort of prepare for you, or is it like, do you still feel that they're sort of a bit weaker and sort of even though you're so confident on them, that it's still you have a few too many hard matchups with it or so?
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage when you use a deck that's not really popular, because people can't really play against it at ladder. People don't really care about it in some sense when they scrim or practice with teammates or anything like that. So that's an advantage. But then the disadvantage is, of course, you're using a lower quality cards. You're depending on such combos and whatnot. So of course there's a trade-off. Right down to it, I recommend any players to just use their most comfortable deck, the one that they play the most, they know the best. Even in tournaments, you get a lot of tournament nerves, right? Like anybody could get nerves. It just depends on how much you get. So the more familiar you are with a deck, the better you do.
Yeah. Now, sort of this familiarity aspect. Have you seen yourself getting better as you play more tournaments? How much do you think it has changed your sort of preparation, your internal thinking over time?
I definitely think that watching other people's games Like watching other tournament games improves me more than me playing myself. Because when I'm playing myself, I'm just running through what I know, and you're in the zone. You're trying to make the best plays. You're not like analyzing everything. And when you watch other players, you can tell that oh, like I would make X move, but he made Y move instead. So let's see what happens with that instead, right? Like you get how's that called? Introduced to a different kind of play style or like thinking that will just really change your play, especially with the top players, right? You watch Strife Crow play. He plays kind of different than everyone else with Miracle, right? He loves to drop minions. He's a guy who really likes minions, and he does really well. So it's really good to just experience that yourself and not really focusing too much on your plays, but your other people's plays, especially the top player ones.
Is there any one player who you watched who's done certain things that really made you go, oh, I should probably do that too?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a lot of players. I mean, all the top players like, Ekop, Savage, Gnimsh, those guys. You can learn a lot from them. Sometimes, everybody makes mistakes, of course, but when they do that really good play, it's important to recognize it and then keep it in mind for maybe your future plays.
Come on, one name, one guy.
One guy, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm actually a big fan of Strife Crow, of course. Oh, yeah. So yeah, that would be that. I mean, making a minion deck work with any class, that's just pretty crazy. And he's really solid, so yeah.
Cool. Now, your first matchup in the playoffs is going to be Gnimsh. How do you feel going into that matchup? He plays very aggressive, and that sort of feels to me at least like the Priest might be a bit struggling there, perhaps?
Oh yeah, in the sense that any player I face against is just a tell on matchups, in a sense. When I know that they're gonna play like Miracle Rogue or they're gonna play Handlock or whatnot, you just focus on the matchup, and I don't really think about the player, but just like the class and what's happening in the battlefield. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in what I have to bring. So hopefully I can get a win here.
Okay, well that's good to hear. This has been Sun Tzu for On Gamers, and we'll see you later.